Picture a stage drenched in silence, one spotlight, and from the shadows, a familiar face steps forward, holding a book like it's his ticket back into relevance. Kevin Federline, the man once known only as Mr. Britney Spears, has a new memoir coming out. He's calling it You Thought You Knew. The title alone feels like a dare, because of course, we thought we knew. The world spent decades watching Britney Spears' every move as if her pain was public property. And now, 17 years after her breakdown, her ex-husband is ready to set the record straight by cashing in on the same story everyone already exploited. In this new book, Kevin claims Britney drank while pregnant, did illegal substances while breastfeeding, and terrified their kids by standing in a doorway with a knife. She fired back within hours, calling it constant gaslighting and extremely hurtful. It's almost poetic in its cruelty. Her life reduced again to a man's cautionary tale. And you have to ask, how many more times will people make money off her trauma? Because this isn't a new chapter. It's the same one, reprinted in glossier ink. This isn't about Kevin's truth. It's about how the industry, the press, the courts, and the people who claim to love Britney Spears all picked her bones clean for profit, sympathy, or clout. Every single one of them failed her, and they did it in front of us, while we laughed, clicked, and turned her breakdown into a meme. Let's rewind. Britney Jean Spears grew up in Kentwood, Louisiana, a small town that worshipped God, football, and the dream of getting out. She had the voice of a prodigy and the kind of drive that makes parents see dollar signs. Her father, Jamie, battled alcoholism and rage. Her mother, Lynn, played the Southern pageant mom who wanted her daughter's talent to lift the family out of instability. Britney was their ticket. From the moment she could sing, she was treated less like a child and more like an investment portfolio. By 12, she was on the Mickey Mouse Club, the same one that produced Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera. By 16, she was a sex symbol. That transformation wasn't organic, it was engineered. Record executives dressed her in pigtails and short skirts, knowing exactly how provocative it looked. It was the perfect cocktail of innocence and desire, and they sold it by the millions. The world wasn't ready to admit how wrong it was to sexualize a teenager, so they just called it marketing. From the start, Britney's image was a contradiction. She was the virgin and the temptress, the perfect girl next door who danced like she'd been rehearsing sin. Every magazine, every interview, every late-night joke chipped away at her humanity. Grown men asked her about her breasts on live television, others demanded to know if she was still a virgin. The question wasn't curiosity, it was ownership. Everyone wanted a piece of Britney Spears. And then came Justin. They were America's golden couple. Two shiny Disney graduates who looked like they'd stepped out of a Pepsi commercial. But behind the matching denim and rehearsed smiles was a relationship that would later define her downfall. When Justin released Cry Me a River, implying that Britney had cheated, the world didn't ask for proof. They didn't care. They wanted blood. She became the villain of a breakup she didn't even narrate. Years later, Britney revealed she'd become pregnant with Justin's child, but he wanted her to end it. She did, and it haunted her. That decision, made for someone else's comfort, was the start of her unraveling, because from then on, every major choice in her life would belong to someone else. By 22, Britney had married Kevin Federline, a backup dancer with ambition and an already pregnant fiancé. Their relationship was chaotic but human. She wanted a family, stability, something no one could take from her, but the press turned it into a circus. They stalked her through grocery stores, camped outside her house, and sold photos of her holding her baby as if motherhood was a scandal. When she was photographed driving with her infant son on her lap, the tabloids treated it like a federal crime. No one mentioned she was trying to escape a mob of paparazzi that had surrounded her car. Kevin wasn't exactly a sanctuary either. He basked in the fame, dropped an album no one asked for, and when the marriage collapsed, he became the Model X. Calm, stoic, and media-friendly, while Britney was painted as hysterical. That double standard wasn't accidental, it sold. Then came 2007. Every breakdown has a beginning, and Britney started when grief met exhaustion. Her beloved aunt died, her custody battle was relentless, and her entire life had become a live broadcast. She checked into rehab, checked out 24 hours later, and then one night in February, walked into a salon and shaved her head. The world gasped. She'd gone mad, they said. But it wasn't madness, it was defiance. "I'm tired of everyone touching me. she told the stylist. Imagine being a woman whose body, voice, and image had been bought and sold since she was 16. Imagine being told who to date, what to wear, and how to smile, until finally your only act of rebellion is to destroy the image they've been profiting from. That's not insanity, that's resistance. Of course, the media didn't see it that way. They turned her pain into a punchline. Paparazzi surrounded her car, shouting, flashing, and jeering. When she finally snapped and struck one of their vehicles with an umbrella, it became the defining image of her career. Not the Grammys, not her record-breaking sales, but an umbrella. The symbol of a woman who dared to lose composure in a world that profited from keeping her compliant. And while late-night hosts made jokes, her team moved in. Larry Rudolph, her longtime manager, allegedly forced her back into rehab. When she resisted, her father Jamie called her a sick little girl to Fox News and began quietly laying the groundwork for control. Within a year, Britney Spears, a woman who had just released one of the most sonically innovative pop albums of the decade, was declared mentally unfit to manage her own life. That's when the conservatorship began. Under the guise of protection, the court stripped her of every right she had. She couldn't drive, couldn't spend her money, couldn't hire her own lawyer. She was ordered to perform, record, and tour, generating millions, while being told she was too unstable to buy a coffee without permission. Her father collected a $16,000 monthly salary plus a percentage of her earnings, and Lou Taylor, the business manager behind the scenes, expanded her influence like a shadow government. And it worked because the system allowed it. Judges, lawyers, and so-called professionals signed off on this arrangement year after year. They called it guardianship, but it was a business model. Britney's life became a production pipeline where her humanity was the raw material. Meanwhile, the same press that mocked her breakdown turned her recovery into a comeback montage. They didn't ask how she was able to perform nightly in Las Vegas if she supposedly suffered from dementia, one of the conditions listed in her conservatorship paperwork. They didn't ask why the woman who sold out arenas wasn't trusted to hold her own car keys. The hypocrisy was breathtaking, but nobody blinked. Because the truth is, it was easier for everyone to believe she was crazy. It absolved them. The fans got their entertainment, the tabloids got their clicks, and her family got their checks. Everyone profited from her instability. Everyone except Britney. It took over a decade for the cracks to show. In 2019, her Instagram posts started to look odd. Spinning videos, cryptic captions, eerie repetition. At first, people laughed. Then they started to look closer. Fans began noticing strange details. Yellow shirts after coded comments, paintings that mirrored online pleas. That's how Free Britney was born. Not from tabloids, not from lawyers, but from the people who had watched her suffer and finally decided to pay attention. They researched court filings, protested outside courthouses, and forced the conversation mainstream. When the documentary Framing Britney Spears dropped in 2021, the world finally saw what her fans had been shouting for years, that Britney wasn't free, she was owned. When the conservatorship ended on November 12, 2021, it was supposed to be a triumph. A woman reclaiming her life after 13 years of control. But freedom, after a lifetime of manipulation, isn't simple. She married Sam Asghari, released a single with Elton John, and published her memoir. But her social media presence, chaotic, raw, and often unsettling, became the new battleground. People who once demanded she be freed were now mocking her posts, dissecting her movements, calling her crazy all over again. The cage didn't vanish, it just went digital. And now here we are again. Kevin Federline, once the beneficiary of Britney's fame, is back in the headlines selling the same story that broke her. He's the ghost of 2007 dressed in new branding, recycling the same moral panic for clicks and royalties. He says he's offering answers, but all he's really offering is confirmation that Britney's pain will never be private. What makes this moment different is that the world can no longer claim ignorance. We've seen the pattern. We know how the machine works. Every paparazzi flash, every leaked court filing, every memoir revelation exists because there's still an audience hungry for the spectacle of a woman unraveling. It's the oldest story in Hollywood. Build her up, break her down, then sell the pieces. But maybe the real tragedy isn't just what happened to Britney. It's what she symbolizes about all of us, the way we normalize cruelty when it's wrapped in entertainment. The way people talk about mental health like a hashtag while mocking the very person who embodied its consequences. The way the world keeps demanding she perform, whether on stage, online, or in her pain. Britney Spears never stood a chance. Not with the parents who saw her as a paycheck, not with the managers who saw her as an asset, not with the exes who saw her as content, and not with us, the audience, who mistook her suffering for spectacle. Now, every time she posts a video dancing alone in her kitchen, people rush to analyze it like it's an SOS. Maybe it is. Or maybe it's just the only form of control she has left. Because after all these years, after every headline, every betrayal, and every lawsuit, the truth is as simple as it is brutal. Britney Spears was failed by everyone in her life. And the worst part? We watched it all happen in real time.